Today's episode, we are joined by Ms. Devina Mehra. She's the founder and CMD of First Global, a very well-known face in the market, a person who's navigated volatility, bulls and bears with equal ease. We discuss what her crystal ball holds. Namaste Devina ji, a very warm welcome. Happy New Year. What holds for 2026?
Namaste, Shail, आपको भी और आपके दर्शकों को भी, to the viewers as well, and I wish them all a very happy New Year. And so, yes, we have not got off a good start, and that too after 2025, where India was number 36 out of the 42 major markets in terms of returns. In euro terms, we had negative returns. Dollar, of course, we had no returns, but in euro, we had negative returns. And but just let's turn the story around. So today, if I switch on any channel, digital or television, everybody is enumerating the risks in the market. What has gone wrong? What is going wrong? Now, the interesting thing is that all research studies show that sentiment is a contraindicator. When the atmosphere is such that people are talking about risk, should I stop investing? Should I stop my SIP? Should I get out of the market? The next period returns are above normal. And the time that there is extra buoyancy, when it seems that returns are there for the taking, you can make any return. The next period returns are below normal. So I'll take you back to, let us say, about middle of 2024 up to August 2024. I heard from so many people, and I'm not even talking retail investors, even ultra HNIs, family offices, saying that why are you talking of risk management? Why are you talking of being conservative? We want to take high risk and make high returns. I had a family office actually tell me that I don't have unrealistic expectations. We'll be happy with 30% compounding. I said, that is an unrealistic expectation. And the only thing that is certain, now we are laughing, but as I said, in August 2024, it appeared it could be done to a lot of people. So I had distributors telling me, why are you preaching risk management when you should be launching a micro cap and small cap scheme, and people are just waiting to put in money. So that's the thing. So uske baad if you see that the last Samvat, the returns didn't come. But now that everybody is down in the dumps, my guess is that probably 2026 would be a lot better than 2025. And 2025 also, if you look at the index, doesn't really capture the pain in the market. For 2025, yes, the indexes were all
absolutely,
up.
Absolutely.
But the average stock was down. The BSE 500, the median stock was down, I think, about 6%. And 57% of the stocks were down. 40% were down more than 10%. So that's why whatever be the index, the people watching this, their portfolios, they must be wondering why their portfolios look so much worse. So my recommendation generally would be that whatever is your India equity allocation, remain invested to that extent. But the caveat to that is that maybe you should not be invested where you are currently invested. So it is always that every bull market leaves behind debris, and it leaves behind debris in your DP statement also. The last pages of the DP statement, which you don't want to look at, that they become like your exes, that you loved them once, now you don't want to look at it. But please look at your entire DP statement, and anything that you will not buy today at today's prices, please get rid of that. It will require you to kind of grit your teeth and do it, but please do it. So as I said, remain invested in equities, but maybe not where you are invested currently.
जी चलिए, तो पोर्टफोलियो की सफाई और डीमैट की सफाई अति आवश्यक है। अगर आपने दिवाली पे ना की हो तो साल के शुरू में कर लें, ये आपको देवीनेजा बता रही हैं। देवीना जी, एक इशू बहुत सामने आ रहा है कि मिड कैप और स्मॉल कैप फंड्स में बहुत लंबी अवधि से लोगों के सिप्स चलते आ रहे हैं। 15 महीने पहले सबने ज़बरदस्त रिटर्न्स कमाए और अब ये हाल है कि मतलब देखते ही नहीं बनता, लेकिन सिप चालू हैं। अब क्योंकि फंड्स अपने आप अपने पोर्टफोलियो को बदलते रहते हैं, इंडेक्स को उन्हें बीट करना है, तो आप क्या राय देंगी उन निवेशकों को जिन्होंने 18 महीने पहले बहुत पैसे कमाए, उनके सिप अभी मिड कैप और स्मॉल कैप फंड्स में चल रहे हैं, क्या उन्हें फंड में परिवर्तन करना चाहिए, उसी फंड में रहें, सिप रोकें या चालू रखें?
मेरा ये मानना है कि अधिकतर निवेशकों को इस तरह से कोई स्पेसिफिक इंडस्ट्री थीम में भी और इस तरह से भी स्मॉल कैप में भी इन्वेस्ट करने की कोई आवश्यकता नहीं होती। आपको अधिकतर अपना जो इक्विटी का निवेश है वो मल्टी कैप, फ्लेक्सी कैप टाइप ऑफ स्कीम्स में ही रखना चाहिए। कि आप फिर टाइम करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि इस टाइम स्मॉल कैप चलेगा या मिड कैप चलेगा, और रिस्क उधर ज्यादा रहता है। ये तो आप अभी मैं नहीं कह रही हूँ, मैं ये 2024 में भी कह रही थी कि आप स्मॉल कैप का हिस्ट्री देखिए तो स्मॉल कैप इंडेक्स का जो 2008 में हाई बना था, उसके बाद वहां से वो लगभग 80% गिरा था, 78% टू बी एग्जैक्ट। और वो इंडेक्स का, स्मॉल कैप इंडेक्स का लेवल वापस आने में 8 साल लगे थे। और ये भी कहने की बात है कि इंडेक्स वापस आ गया, क्योंकि ये इंडेक्स ही 18-20% हर साल बदलता है, तो 8 साल बाद तो लगभग कोई स्टॉक ही नहीं होगा जो 2008-9 में था, वो 2016 तक नहीं बचा होगा। और आप देखिए तो उसके बाद 2018-19 में एक बार फिर तेजी आई थी और स्मॉल कैप में, और उसके बाद फिर 2/3 घटा था। तो दिस 2/3 65%। सो वो बहुत ही खतरे वाला एरिया है, वहां आपका बहुत ज्यादा निवेश नहीं होना चाहिए। तो ये वही बात जो मैं स्टॉक्स के लिए कह रही थी वो इसमें भी लागू होती है कि इक्विटी एलोकेशन जितनी आपकी है, यू मस्ट रिमेन इन्वेस्टेड बट मे बी नॉट इन द सेम एरिया, सो बी केयरफुल। ऑफ कोर्स नाउ मिड कैप इज फेयरली लार्ज कैप, बिकॉज अब वो पहले होता था कि वो मार्केट कैप के हिसाब से होता था, अब वो टॉप 100 स्टॉक्स, टॉप लाइक दैट अभी सेबी ने कर दिया है। तो एक्चुअली कट ऑफ अब मिड कैप का तो काफी हाई हो गया है, तो वो खैर बहुत छोटे स्टॉक्स तो नहीं है, पर जो स्मॉल कैप, माइक्रो कैप में आपको बहुत सावधानी बरतनी चाहिए, चाहे आप डायरेक्ट निवेश कर रहे हो, चाहे इंडेक्स, चाहे फंड के थ्रू, तो वहां आपका बहुत ज्यादा निवेश नहीं होना चाहिए, ये मेरा मानना है।
चलिए इस चर्चा को किसी और दिन करेंगे। देवीना जी, लेट अस एड्रेस द एलिफेंट इन द रूम, which is silver at 3.75 lakhs, and as we speak gold at 1,60,000 per tola. Hard to imagine this kind of rally, at least in my lifetime. In the last 30 years I haven't seen this kind of a move in such shorter span. Now what does 2026 hold for gold and silver? How are you navigating it at First Global PMS? And what should we do now?
The gold, I was smiling because the last gold rally was not 30 years ago, it was 45 years ago, a little more than that. So I was reading some headlines saying the last time gold saw a rally of this kind was 1979. तब तो स्कूल में ही थे हम, लेकिन 1979 के बाद if you go forward, so 1980 the gold, the dollar price made a high, and guess 19 years later in 1999, 1980 में हाई बना था, 1999 में it was 62% below that number, below the 1980 number 2 decades later. It crossed that number only in 2007 after 27 years, and this was not an aberration. 2007, after that the new high it made, it came down 40%. So gold in dollar terms, and this is actually we have calculated, is more volatile than equities. People think it's a safe haven. It's not a safe haven. It's a volatile asset. Of course, in a diversified portfolio, it has a role because it's a diversification tool, but it is not a safe haven. In rupee terms, it looks like a decent chart in gold because it is a rupee depreciation chart. So जैसा मैं कहती हूँ कि हमारी दादी नानी गलत नहीं थी सोना खरीदने में, because at that time you could not invest in overseas capital markets. So the only way to get a dollar asset in your portfolio was to buy gold or silver for that matter. So that's the thing. So it's a risky asset. In our multi-asset portfolios, we do have gold and silver always. So both in our India multi-asset and global multi-asset, but normally we have a single-digit allocation. We don't have like 30-40% in gold or silver ever. Uh, and as a side light, which is not, of course, for the individual holders, but people are talking of central banks diversifying into gold. But where is the gold held? So, do you know that New York literally sits on a bed of gold? There is some 6,000 tons of gold in the vaults in New York, which is not America's gold. America's gold is US gold is kept elsewhere. This is all held on behalf of other countries. So that's another, another story and another risk area as to central banks के पास जो सोना है भी वो really उनके पास है कि नहीं है.
आपकी बात सही है, but I think a lot of central banks, at least the one that we are beholden to, have moved their gold assets back to domestic vaults. Be that as it may, so one single digit allocation continues, and from what I can gather, what has been left unsaid by you is that better days are still ahead for gold. Am I right?
No, I'm not making that bet because it is already at a very high level. So I'm not saying that it is like. So I'm saying now it is in risky territory. Which is not to say it can't go up, but I'm saying now you are in risky territory. Not the time to enter, I would say.
Okay. How about silver?
Silver also. I mean, we've been. But I remember almost 2 years ago I had given an interview where I said that we're liking silver a little more than gold, and of course silver also has done well, and silver has industrial uses also. So again, as I said, both put together, we are still at single-digit allocation, which is. And silver again has had speculative furies in the past also with very sharp moves up and down.
Okay, because both of us have participated in the dot-com bubble as also its bust, I was just wondering if you have some recollections about that era, particularly given the way metals are rallying as of now. So at that point of time, only tech was rallying, and at this point of time, only metals are showing signs of the bubble getting bigger. We all should participate in bubbles, but are we closer to paying the bill? Is it coming to an end?
Of bubbles, long ago, John Kenneth Galbraith wrote that he's set out kind of the steps or the characteristics of the bubble, and saying that financial markets always forget the past bubbles, and hence history repeats. He said in every bubble, people think they will get out ahead of the bubble, but when the bubble crashes, nobody manages to get out. And आपको और कौन सा एग्जांपल दे? सर आइजैक न्यूटन, जिन्होंने मतलब इतनी बड़ी डिस्कवरीज की साइंस में, नॉट ही वाज नॉट जस्ट अ साइंस मैन, ही वाज द, आई थिंक व्हाट डू दे कॉल इट, द मास्टर ऑफ द रॉयल मिंट फॉर डेकेड्स. एंड उस समय का एक बड़ा बबल हुआ था साउथ सी कंपनी का, and he bought that stock, he rode it up to a while and said, this is too much, and he exited, but the stocks continued to go up, and he bought it again, and then he lost his entire fortune in that bubble. So that's the thing. So unless you are more of a genius than Sir Isaac Newton, don't think you can get out, that you can play a bubble and get out. I mean, you might be lucky once or twice, but it's a very risky game to play. Metals only thing, see, unlike many other things in life, whether it is stocks or other commodities, metals are input for many more industries. So a bull run in metals typically doesn't last very long because it hurts too many people. So there is always a pressure that don't let it go wild, because it is hurting too many other industries, margins. So if you look in the past also, metal bull runs don't last very, very long. I mean, they kind of, they're capped. In India, of course, the metal run has also been, there have been two other components to it, especially in the last few months. One is the rupee depreciation, because even if the company is not exporting, the benchmark
Ji.
price is taken from a dollar price. And the other is that in many cases, we also have anti-dumping duties on metals which are protecting domestic manufacturers. So I'm sure they must be already lobbying from the user
Yes.
industries that why do they need this now anymore? So, so those are the regulatory areas also which can
So
change
time
the
to be
fortune.
cautious again.
Yeah, I mean, we do have metals, but I'm saying it's not
Time to be
something that
cautious
you
again,
want
ladies
to
and
just
gentlemen, as far as
go
correct.
into all in and take a huge position. We do have metals in our
Okay.
portfolio, but
At
just
this
like
moment, Ji, at this point of time, the India-focused portfolio, which is the largest allocation in terms of sector, and how many stocks?
see, the largest would probably be banking and finance, simply because that's even though we are not overweight on it, it is the highest weightage in the benchmark. But in terms of where we are overweight, we have been overweight on auto components and later on some of the auto companies also over the last 2 years. So that did well in 2025. We've been overweight pharma and healthcare also for about that period, which did well in 24, not so well in 25. But we are still positive on that. Uh, 2025, slowly FMCG, we have become overweight. Banks, while we are not overweight, we hold more than what we usually do. In 25, we added PSU banks in the first part of the year and later on some of the other banks also. And what else would be? IT will be slightly overweight, I think. So that would be broadly. Others are more like stock specific picks in capital goods, chemicals, etc.
It's interesting that you mention IT is overweight. Again, one should buy when there are question marks, rather buying it when there are exclamation points. So IT is well understood. Devina ji, what of this Indo-EU trade deal in the absence of an Indo-US trade deal? Does it still clear the pitch for stock pickers such as you, or these are large term macro trends? 20 साल तो डील होने में लगे हैं, कब ratify होगी क्या पता, but
हाँ
broader
मतलब वो
trend
तो आप
with Mr. Trump in the background.
Yeah, I mean, we've been expecting to close the India-US trade deal for the last, I think, 8 months or so. So every time it is that it is just around the corner, and really, I mean, who knows when it will be done? And sometimes people ask me that what will President Trump do? Does he even know what he will do next week? Or so how am I going to predict? But also, I mean, the other side to that is that in the listed space, the companies impacted are not that many or that significant. So, that per se, I don't think will have a huge impact on the listed market. So it will, of course, have an impact on uh, the economy overall. But I don't think it's like barring, some very isolated companies, it's not like a big deal for the overall uh, uh, listed space of the markets.
Okay. I would like to pick your thought process on the FMCG space where you are overweight versus the benchmark. Interesting scanners are coming up with, old world companies, Marico, Dabur, Lever, for instance, is popping up in many, many spaces. These are traditionally high PE stocks where, fund managers really haven't made serious money. But is the overall stock picking landscape so dry that we've headed back to Lever, Dabur, and Marico?
The one thing, share themes change in markets. So आप 5 साल पहले जाइए 2020 में था कि you can't go wrong buying these companies. That was the theme, that these are the compounders of the world,
Yes.
and you at whatever time and whatever price you buy it, you will do well. And at that time, I had done a whole half an hour program on why that is not true. So then long periods when they underperform, long periods when they give no return. I mean, levers gave hardly any returns from 1999 to 2010. Nestle also had long periods of underperformance. Bata gave zero returns for 15 years. But the point is, you have to keep looking at the data. At that time, when everybody loved FMCG, nobody looked at ITC because ITC stock was not doing well. Whereas our systems, the first major FMCG stock it liked in 2021 was ITC. And then ITC was among our top performers for the next 2, 3 years. But so you have to keep an open mind in the markets that you can't say, that now there's nothing else. That's why we're going back to FMCG. I mean, they've had a long period of underperformance, but that apart, the other thing is that the consumption slowdown was real, except that people started talking about it in the end of 2024, but the slowdown actually, the low in private consumption in the GDP was in 23-24. So people started talking as an explanation only when the market started to go down. But I had been talking about it from beginning of 24. So that has picked up. The other thing is that the inflation, the consumer inflation is at a low. So now consumer inflation means, see, what was happening earlier was that the food product prices had gone up so high, it was essentially crowding out things like even soap and shampoo from household budgets. And this time, not only has the inflation come down, the actual prices of certain food stuff have come down. So there's more room in the household budget. And also, again, some of these input prices, whether they're things like edible oils or petrochemicals, which derive from crude, again, the last 2 years, generally the trend has been down. So it is a good effect on the revenue side and a good effect on the margin side. So that's why, and as I said, there's been a long period of underperformance also. With more FMCG stocks, our systems have been liking for the last 1 year, and we've been adding some. We made some changes also within the sector. IT also, we moved a little from large cap to mid cap, but I'm saying as a sector as a whole, that's the thing. See, always as human beings, the stories persist in our mind. So I'll give you another example. Capital goods, industrial machinery, we went overweight from October 21. Most fund managers sort of started thinking about it a whole 2 years later. Because why? Because 12 years before that 21, from 2009 to 21, that sector gave no return. The compounding was 2%. And people said, ये तो देखने वाला ही sector नहीं है, बेकार है. So that, don't let stories persist in your head when the data tells you something different. That's why we use systems. That's why we say, first heavy lifting is done by a system, so that it forces you to look at data.
Yes. I think that's a very, very interesting thought process that's been introduced primarily by First Global over the last 5-7 years as far as PMS stock picking is concerned. Have a statistical bent of mind, and Devina has a master's in mathematics. That also helps. Let's look at bond yields. Let's look at the budget ahead, and let's look at how the market is super light ahead of the budget over the last 1 year or so. What are your expectations, your fears, and how does it look at this point of time, India's macro balance sheet?
In the budget, I mean, everybody is giving their wish list of what they want in terms of either concession or investments in their area of business. But the point is that if you look at the numbers, the government doesn't have much room to do anything, because what has happened is that the tax collections are running way below expectations. So tax collection numbers are available from April 1 to January 11. And first let me tell you what was budgeted. So when the budget was made, the nominal GDP growth was supposed to be 10.5%. So accordingly, the GST and corporate tax collections were estimated to grow at 10.5 and 10.9, something like that, to both of them. Surprisingly, and this is something I had pointed out last budget itself, even though the personal income tax rates were cut, the budget showed that the personal income tax was estimated to grow at 14.5%. So I said, how you are expecting the personal income tax to grow much more than what you're budgeting for the other taxes. The only explanation can be that you're budgeting huge collections from capital market related taxes. STT was supposed to grow at 40%. So now, personal income tax has actually grown at 1%. STT has barely grown. Even GST and corporate tax, there are big shortfalls. Now, of course, what was kind of controllable, they have given far less refunds this year. Even then, as against a budgeted tax of 11% growth overall for all taxes put together, we are not even at 8. So there's a big shortfall. And the reason, of course, is that nominal GDP growth has been very, very low. So आपको जो headline नजर आती है वो होती है real GDP growth, but what is actually, whether it is corporate tax, corporate profits, or whether it's taxes, they all depend on nominal GDP, which is the actual rupee GDP. And there the growth has been very low. So, it's been barely more than real GDP. So इस साल कुछ estimate, I think, nominal GDP का 8 and 8 point something है. This is the government's estimate, the ministry's estimate. And here you have this big shortfall. So if the shortfall continues in the same fashion, you have a gap of 1.3 lakh crores. The other side to this is that
why don't you have a nice glass of water? I'll come back to you shortly.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, just a brief pause. So at this point of time, the markets are in top shape. We are having a very smart rally as far as metal stocks are concerned. Some parts of defense are doing extremely well. Look at BDL 1545, a sharp uptick for the last 2.5 hours or so. Mazgaon in top shape. We have a price of about 24.69. Hindustan Aeronautics rising smartly. Giving company to metals is the PSU basket as far as the defense space is concerned, and of course a bit of profit booking happening in Axis Bank. We've seen the stock hit 1370. From then on, a bit of profit booking. You're down at 1332. Ditto as far as prices of stocks such as PNB are concerned. PNB down a bit. Bank of Baroda slips from days high. Canara Bank also slipping from days high. In strength, however, State Bank of India and Indian Bank. BEL at a fresh record high of 435. Devina is back with us. We were discussing the shortfall in taxes collections, and we'll take this discussion forward. Devina.
Apologies, I was just recovering from a bad cold. So now I said if this continues, there will be a shortfall of 1.3 trillion rupees. So that's 1.3 lakh crore rupees. And the other side is that GDP itself has been mainly driven by government spending in the last few years. Government spending in the last decade has gone up 5 times. You see, not all of it has been productive. Recently, a newspaper had done a piece on that we've been setting up an airport every 50 days, but about 10 of those airports don't have any flights. Another 40, 50 have less than 5 flights a day. So, I mean, there's obviously some room to cut in the government spending, but if you cut, then the GDP also goes down. So that's the conundrum. Basically, the government doesn't have much room to give concessions to anyone, whether it is tax cuts or increased spending. So that's the thing you have to keep in mind, that there's not that much room. You also spoke of bond yields. People have, I have written about it multiple times, but people are not making the connection between the rupee depreciation and the bond and the yields, because one thing is that RBI has cut rates by 1%, but the bond yield show that the market kind of doesn't believe it, because bond yields are now almost back to where they started, and even at best it was nowhere close to a 1% cut. A lot of state bond issues have been failing. So there's obviously not demand at lower numbers. But the other thing is that interest rates, if you look at macroeconomic theory, when interest rates in an economy are relatively high, that's when it attracts capital. So if you look at now, our differential, let us say from the US, that means हमारा जो interest rate है minus the US का interest rate है, that's about now in the 2%, 2.5% range for the last few months. Whereas earlier it used to be 5%, and the peak 5% plus, the peak was 7% plus. So, I mean, our interest rates used to be much higher than the US. Now that we are that close to the US interest rates, in theory also, therefore it doesn't attract capital. And in theory also, then therefore there is pressure on the currency, which you are now seeing. And the number that you see, this 1992 versus the dollar, doesn't really capture the pain in the currency, because dollar has been a very weak currency against the rest of the world for the last year or so. So if you look at 2025 against the euro, the rupee depreciated 20%. So as I tell that now that, a lot of people say कि अभी बच्चे को US नहीं भेजेंगे, यूरोप भेजेंगे पढ़ने के लिए. In the course of 1 year, your bill has gone up 20%. And that is also one of the reasons why you must have a substantial portion of your portfolio in global assets. And global doesn't mean only America. So this is really a cause for me that Indians do not invest enough globally, and they should. And that's why, we have a product that starts at $10,000 that invests across the globe in all assets. अभी हाल फिलहाल तक $10,000 was 7.5 lakh rupees. Now it is 9.2 lakh rupees. So before it goes up higher, you should certainly look at that for any financial goals that are 10, 20, 30 years later. You can't forget this. When I started working, the dollar was 12 rupees. So that should give you some idea.
Wow. On that note, Devina, we'll call it a day. Thank you so much for your time. And as we've learned from Murphy's Law, the moment you are able to get the goalposts together, the government or God Almighty moves them apart. And that's what's happening for most middle classes in India. Be that as it may, looking forward to meeting you. And let's hope 2026 is better than 2025, as you pointed out in your opening comments. Thank you for your time, and here's wishing you all the best.
Thank you.